Yo, what's up? Hey, sorry I came out with this part 2 so late. Had a bit of a small detour earlier this month, but I'm back on the saddle and coming back to review this masterpiece. On with part 2. Chapter 5, the ultimate cast of characters. So the characters of One Punch Man are vast. Majority of them have powers too, which is pretty cool. Let's start off with Genos, the rookie hero whose cybernetic capabilities make him a major badass. It also allows us to see Genos get his ass kicked over and over again, only for Saitama to swoop in and save him. What you notice about Genos as well as the rest of the cast of characters is that they all stem from influences of other anime. He's a young hero who has a dark side. He's also on a quest for vengeance and seeks to become powerful. He has a lot of good qualities about him. He looks out for others, willing to put his life on the line to defeat the enemy, and has strong determination to bring justice. His relationship with Saitama is one of the best things to see in the show develop. No, that's not what I meant! Now his powers are amazing to see in action. From his first fight with the Mosquito Girl, you can already see what his powers are capable of. Visually, they look fantastic and give the over-the-top action that fuels this anime with a distinct atmosphere of intensity. What makes the show a comedy again is how always, at the end of every fight, Genos is broken down hilariously. With the exception of the Sea King fight, of course. It's funny because we've seen these characters in mechas that fall apart, and the trope is they continuously get their asses kicked this way and just get put back together. The final note I'll add about Genos before tackling the remaining characters is that he gives the show action. The action where it seems like a good fight at first, just to get beaten down and wait for the hero to help. An example of this is from the genius that is the Frieza saga from Dragon Ball Z. You have all these characters uniting to fight the main bad guy, just to give the hero enough time to show up. You have Vegeta, whose power looks incredible, just like Genos' power looks incredible. Then you have Vegeta ending up getting his ass beat down, just like Genos who gets his ass beat down. Vegeta has a fucked up haircut, just like Genos. He may be second to the main character in this series, just like Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, Sasuke in Naruto, Zoro in One Piece, but that doesn't mean they're not badasses. To conclude, Genos is a great character, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get fucked up even more for his master's sake. Now let's get on to talking about Moomin Rider. This has got to be one of my favorite characters next to Saitama in the series. He's a perfect foil to Saitama's design not only in looks, but his power and how he expresses himself. One was clever to introduce the characters such as this one in the series. He's the number one of the C-class heroes, which I assume is only because he lacks any type of powers. But he depicts a hero in our reality. When he's first introduced, he decides to take on the Paradise Group. And of course, gets his ass kicked. At first I want to be the least bit surprised when people saw this and thought it was a joke in the show. I mean, I thought it was hilarious how quick this guy got beat down. Call me out if I'm wrong here, but I personally feel like this is one's impression of what he wants out of his audience as opposed to what Saitama represents. You see, here's what I meant. Saitama is more of a character we can relate and look up to for the character he is. Inspiration. Your typical I really hate repeating myself, you already get the point about Saitama. Meanwhile, the Moomin Rider is a character that we can actually take as an example to become. As a regular man, he has many limits compared to his allies in the Heroes Association. But nonetheless, he charges in to help everyone he can because he has a good heart and strong sense of justice. He even tries finding empathy in villains he comes across with. He's enthusiastic about doing good for the people. I mean, for a man who's just fucking rides a bike, he's incredible. His fight with the Sea King is by far the best scene depicted in the series. He bought just enough time to not only save Genos' life, but for Saitama to show up and save everybody. Though he doesn't necessarily damage the Sea King in any way, you don't care about that because he's just so damn admirable. This scene is so emotionally charged that it could fill you with heated hatred towards the Sea King. It could move you with Moomin Rider's compassion towards others. And overall it makes a statement about the definition of heroism. He goes in bravely knowing he possibly isn't going to make it out alive. And when he gives his speech, I wouldn't blame anyone for being brought to tears from how moving his trembling words are. You could argue he was the true hero of the Sea King arc. To summarize my points on him here, he's similar to Saitama with the exception of his design, persona, and overall power. He's a flawless character in how he illustrates what we humans can do with what little abilities we have. Sheer willpower could overcome the mightiest enemies. Now let's get the Heroes Association characters out of the way. Now I can spend as much time as I spent on Moomin Rider and Genos to talk about each one of them, But just like my house and my daughter that I lost in a court case against my wife, I lost that time. You hear me, Deborah? You better not lay a finger on my little princess! Now each one of these characters have great abilities and consist of varying looks and personas. There's even a token fat guy in their group of characters. But on a serious note, you have Bang, who's a pretty cool old man whose fighting technique really fits in with his calm outlook on situations. Metal Knight, whose robotic voice is coupled with cold dialogue and cruel indifference for human lives, just to test out his weaponry. Then you got Metal Bat, whose reckless attitude is expressed with how hard he swings his bat at foes. Now that we've gotten all those heroes who got a lot of screen time out of the way, let's get on to talking about Tatsumaki and... oh shit, how could I forget? Pity. Now this guy was great. His personality shines the most, and his distinct abilities make him out to be an interesting character. His interaction with the Sea King was probably the most peculiar thing that this show threw at me. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Well then again, with what I've seen the anime industry bring, nothing surprises me. Moving on, what you'll notice right away regarding the cast of characters is the lack of female characters. Is that a problem? No, of course not. Personally, I would have loved at least one female character. That wasn't Tatsumaki. She is annoying. Not the charming annoying either, because there is a good share of characters that come off annoying, but have very redeemable traits that follow with why they're annoying. Hinata Hiyaga, Nami, Erza, Saber, Rukia, and Winry. Needless to say, Tatsumaki is the essence of that share of female characters who are irritating and malignant in every aspect. Asuna, Kurishima, Toka Kurishima, Sakura, Lucy, Tatsumaki. Why would I attack these popular characters? Let me tell you by comparing each one in their common respective anime counterparts. Spoiler alert in case I slip one. Asuna cries, and cries more. First half of Season 1 of Sword Art Online, she's introduced as a character who's strong, independent, and demonstrates good skills of a leader. The second half, the creator thinks it's a good idea to nerf all that for Kirito-kun's sake and make her a weaker person all around. Tuka, whatever the fuck her name is needlessly cruel, despite her past. To Kaneki. Then again, I won't blame her. The guy's a total Shinji. Hinata is both caring and provides our protagonist great support, both morally and combat-wise. Sakura is totally manipulative and even at times selfish. But most of all, what makes her annoying is how hard she is on Naruto. Fucking put your pitchfork down and get back to healing, you shitty support! Now I can go on, but I think I made my point very clear here. Tatsumaki has no depth to her character other than the fact that she is very powerful and is very mean. Saitama has good patience around her and retains a good attitude, as well as the rest of the cast of characters. Overall, I just think for being the only female character who's introduced so far in the series, it's pretty disappointing that her character is one that depicts annoyance. Now what villains are our heroes matching up against? Chapter 6, The Terrifying Villains. One Punch Man's whole selection of villains are a mix of funny, scary, and overall epitomizing power. You got kaijus, organizations, and general supervillains. The most popular is undoubtedly Speedo Sound Sonic. I would associate this popularity for having testicles able to withstand a nudge from Saitama's fist. That is the pinnacle of enduring pain. But on a serious note, I would stand behind this statement particularly because Sonic resembles a dark hero. Not one like Genos, but rather one turned evil already. Perhaps due to his past. Maybe some bad mistake that took a toll on his beliefs. Also, there has to be a reason why he's constantly a reoccurring character throughout the series. Call me out if I'm wrong here, but he seems to have those tropes about his character so far that scream out that he's going to have a change of heart pretty soon. Think about it. His lust for power is going to drive him to do whatever means he can to attain Saitama's power, which could go really good for his character, just really bad. And what I mean by this is that he might learn the true aspects about being a hero. His lust for power is going to drive him to do whatever means he can to attain Saitama's power. He could take the good route and become something like Saitama, a hero who wants to do good for the people, and his desire becomes so strong that he ends up having these limitless powers. Or it could just go really bad to the point where he will do every evil means to achieve power. Either way, his representation as a character in the series is still a villain for the most part, but it makes for one badass ninja and is always a spectacle to watch in action. Oh. I want to go back to the House of Evolution before giving my tidbit on the Sea King. Now, I may not think this, but Dr. Genis plays a big role in this anime's moral as well. Initially, his character doesn't serve nothing more than a catalyst to address what Saitama is. He wanted to evolve humans to a point where they could peak in human strength. That's why he made so many fucked up looking Digimon. Saitama points out the flaw in this guy's thinking and exploits the very nature in human beings that makes us strong. We're already capable of becoming stronger and smarter. It's just a matter of challenging the limits. Now aside from that, this villain's array of henchmen look pretty incredible. But the Carnage Kabuto was just fucking whatever. When he transforms, he looks a lot like Eva 1. It's pretty funny how the anime industry is a small world nowadays. Alright motherfuckers, do you want seeking or do you want seeking? Okay, let's get to this terrifying motherfucker. The Sea King differs a lot from the villains in the series so far just because he's this cold, merciless bad guy. He appears invincible with rapid healing, extra strength from the presence of water. This guy's fucking nuts. One really wanted to set up a serious arc using this villain. He beat people to death, threatened children, and aimed for world domination. This guy's a total dickhead. And even with knowing how strong Saitama is, the tone the Sea King sets for the story still leaves you questioning if he's really going to be able to do it. Because he stomps not only on a group of A and B list superheroes, but utterly destroys Genos and Pretty Prisoners' assholes. Genos' defeat in this fight was the most tragic and heartbreaking. He risked the fight just to save a little girl from getting hit with an acidic newbie. This scene followed by with a beatdown that Moomin Rider gets makes me despise this guy. I really hated this villain, but these are villains we love to hate though. You see, the thing about us humans is that we love to say, fuck evil. We freaking hate evil in any sense. And I bet you didn't notice yourself that he's practically the only villain in the series that perpetuates this much evil. Let me list some characters down. Frieza, Arlong, Light Yagami, the Major from Hellsing. These are villains we fucking despise because of the monsters they are. We feel good about hating them. They do bad things to good people. There's no better way of depicting evil than what we're given with these characters. The Sea King also has a superiority complex that's like, nah, you're doing it wrong, you're not fighting correctly, with all the characters he duels against. The Sea King, for all we know, could just be an homage to the lineage of villains depicted in the anime industry. Or he could be nothing more than just a trope. What is he really? That's up for you to decide. Finally, let's get to the aliens. After the rampage that was the Sea King arc, you wouldn't expect this anime to take such a huge leap into another global catastrophe. But what you didn't expect as a kid was the pain from using hand sanitizer as a lubricant for fapping. And just like that pain I was in, I'm actually a little pissed off with the final villain in the series, Lord Boros. Don't get me wrong, Boros and his fight with Saitama was a visual marvel to watch. It gave me goosebumps to see such power engage between the two. But how will the story top this villain? Saitama had plenty of strength left to fight the greatest warrior in the universe. Oh, wait. He won that one. I meant, this greatest warrior in the universe. Boros himself acknowledges that he wasn't even too much of a challenge for Saitama. From my perspective, it's actually pretty sad. The Lord Boros fight was well scripted. The animation flowed like a rush. However, there's another way you can take a look at this fight and how similar it is to the other biggest fights in anime. Matter of fact, it follows the trope step by step. 1. Introduction with the final villain begins with the villain describing his utter reach of power. 2. Fight begins with initial test of strengths being made, mainly shown off by the villain and casually kept up by the protagonist. 3. More speeches on their power, morals, blah blah blah. 4. Things get more serious. Maybe a damsel in distress is at stake, a city, group of people, allies to the hero. 5. The final moves are made, the trump cards, usually the villain making their first move, followed by a counterattack from the protagonist. Or just altogether the protagonist taking the fight into their hands and eliminating the target. I could name a plethora of examples from other anime, but odds are you already made your connections with your favorite action anime. Now this formula isn't a bad thing, but think of it as a fiber supplement. Like a small meal, a majority of action animes consist of simple stories, either adventure, coming to age, etc. This formula is well suited to anime like this and can be applied to anime, just like a fiber is applied to a small meal to fulfill your appetite. Anime with significant depths in their story like Parasite, Code Geass, Cowboy Bebop don't need this fiber formula because their attention is put into the storytelling and character development. Adding this formula to animes like those would just give you the shits. Imagine the final bout between Spike and Vicious and Cowboy Bebop had this formula. The initial atmosphere would have been gone. In defense of One Punch Man though, this only pushes the story's take on tropes. Saitama practically knows the rundown already by Boruto's second speech and asks him if he's already done with the speech. These little details show that one and the animators knew exactly what they were doing. Saitama knows these tropes like the back of his hand and he just wants to get the fight over with already. Aside from that giant bit, there isn't too much to Lord Boros as a character. Interestingly enough though, he gives vibes that seem like a shadow character to Goku. Even his hair grows like Goku's Super Saiyan forms throughout the fight. Lord Boros' character definitely delivered two things. The tropes we're all familiar with, and a terrific final fight.
予言など当てにはならんな。お前は強すぎた。埼玉。
Whew, thank God I got through talking about the characters. Now to go on with the setting. This chapter will be quick and painless, unlike my everlasting crippling depression. Chapter 7, the setting. Now the setting for One Punch Man is exactly like how I like my women. Big in the right places, they also don't talk. But on a serious note, the setting in One Punch Man gets the job done simply with adjusting with the enigma of powerful characters that encapsulate its setting, and makes places easy to remember following even more of Dragon Ball's structure. I already mentioned it in part 1, but allow me to elaborate. You could probably picture the area Saitama lived at better than the actual name of the city he lived at. Or vice versa. Having a setting the audience can remember very vividly, whether it's through a simple name or imagery, makes a good setting. For me, I visually remember most of the places in One Punch Man just for the fantastic detail. The combat room in the House of Evolution was just a white room, but when it flared up in bright red colors, my eyes couldn't get enough from the grand visuals that took place. I've made my point clear here. I don't think I need to use any more examples to make a clear picture of what I like to see. That's not what I meant! Chapter 8. The Deep Plot. Plots in anime usually go one way or the other. You either have some linear storytelling, or scattered subplots followed by a bigger subplot. Now I'm sure you're saying to yourself that One Punch Man is one of those stories that consists of different subplots, but One Punch Man is actually a linear story. And in my opinion, it works better that way. The story is practically linear because it revolves around Saitama. Because as an audience, we want to see Saitama fight a greater foe each time. A foe that will ignite his passion and presents an actual threat. The plot to One Punch Man is simple, but yields a treasure of lessons that inadvertently teaches us as an audience how we can become our own heroes. In the state that our world is in, it's made more prevalent than ever that it is corrupt. There are those out there that mean to do us harm. People are angry, confused, but most of all in fear. In times like these, the youth need a figure to look up to. A stoic leader who exemplifies bravery, strength, and sheer determination. A hero. For a majority of people, most of those heroes exist in the comics we binge, the films that move us. One Punch Man goes beyond giving inspiration, but grants us simple lessons of what makes a hero. Don't sit in fear waiting for someone to swoop in and save you. Stand up and fight. Become your own hero. Hey, thanks for tuning in to part 2. This one was a behemoth to finish in comparison to part 1. But no worries, I'll be wrapping this one up come part 3, which will be much shorter. Also, check out my last video. It's another Overwatch beta video, but it's one I made. Tell me what you think about it. If you like any of my content, like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't, I'll get better.